2, 1, 2.
All right, so part of the show today is to really talk about harm reduction. I love talking on the radio, but I'm not sure how many people really talk so much on the TheLotRadio, but I'm going to from now on. So I have my friend Lauren here from last night. Deejay saved my life, and we're just going to talk about harm reduction from a lot of different lenses on this show. It's going to be music and that. So hi.
Hi. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess a little backstory of why we're doing things this way today is I was roofied at a club I've spent a lot of time at in early January. I needed an ambulance called for me because I collapsed unconscious, was bleeding out of my skull. I don't know if people could have seen that then, but I had a skull fracture and a hematoma, which translated to a stroke. An ambulance wasn't called, and this all stemmed from being roofied in the club. I spent like a week in the hospital, and then like 3 months until very recently trying to learn how to walk again, talk easy. If I stutter, it's because of the stroke. All life as a teacher, as a DJ, everything was taken away from me. And I'm lucky, really, really lucky to have healed. So Lauren does amazing work, and I'm really thankful to know you. And so I just wanted her to talk about harm reduction from the lens that she's been thinking of it, and what we can do.
Yeah, no, first off, Shishi, thank you for having me and also for turning this horrible fucking thing that's happened into something positive. You know, I think it takes a lot of guts to be able to like be public about these things that have happened, and it's unreal what you went through. It's messed up. And I think it's such a good opportunity for us to all come together as a community to kind of have these discussions about how we can make things better. And luckily the club owner is involved as well. And now other clubs have gotten involved to step up because this is a problem. And are you comfortable sharing how you were dosed?
Yeah, so The doctors at the hospital think I was dosed with GHB. On camera at Bossa Nova Civic Club, I'll be transparent about that. We've all been working together to kind of make this right. You couldn't see anybody roofing me, but the doctor, because of some bruises on my leg and things like that, they think that I might have been needle poked, although you it's a club, so you can't really see everything on the cameras. So we're not sure how it happened, but based on my symptoms and other blood tests I've gotten back recently, as I do like follow-up CAT scans, they think that it was GHB.
Horrifying. Horrifying. The needle poke thing is just absolutely, I mean, like, how do we even harm reduce something like this? Do we pat people down? Like, that's just like, it seems like a very difficult situation. So I think we need to at least start the discussion together as a community to try to figure out what we should do. You know, we have venues, you know, that have safe space, you know, people that walk around with wristbands and are always looking out for us, seeing if anything weird is going on. I think that needs to be incorporated in more spaces, even small spaces like Bossa Nova. You know, yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have answers, but we have to at least start talking about it.
Yeah, I think my whole thought process around this was like, I feel like I come from a unique position. The DJ community like really showed up and came together for me when a GoFundMe came out. And so this became a really public thing. And it wasn't my first time being roofied, but it was the only time I ever considered like saying something publicly. And I just think that the conversation needs to open up, because as of now, it's just a risk we all assume when we go out. But like, obviously the risk is more heavy on others. And since then, too, I've had a handful of people reach out to me saying, yeah, I've been roofied, too, and I don't know what to do, and I've been roofied in that space. And so I think the first step, and I'm, you know, like, I'm just a public school English teacher. And so I don't have all the answers, but I want to open up the conversation now. And I think, like, what you've done with overdosing and Narcan has just been super impressive. And you've brought a lot of people together around this cause. And I'm curious, like, how you did that and, like, what that looks like.
Well, I came up with the idea in 2019 when Narcan became, when you could get Narcan without a prescription. So this was a big deal because, you know, if you get it prescribed to you, it's also scary because it's on your medical history. And when you go to get health insurance or life insurance down the line, they look at that as a threat, even if it's for just being prescribed, you know, strong painkillers. So just be careful with that. But anyway, so you don't need a prescription for it. But what I thought was prohibitive was the cost, because $144 or something to get it when it became over the counter. So I'm like, well, what can we do to make this easier to get into clubs? So I partnered with my friend Danielle Pickering, who works over at Cal and Lord. She's a registered nurse over there. And we brought in our friend Julius Johnson, a doctor. He's also a nurse with his doctorate. And we basically get Narcan for free through the government. And I was like, well, let's just do trainings. Let's train bar staff, and then let's open it up for public. And if anybody wants to come and get trained, we'll give them Narcan for free. And then it used to be where you would get a little card, and then it was signed, and then you could go get Narcan for free for the rest of your life. There still is ways to always procure it for free now because it's so readily available. So, but in 2019, people were like, what? Narcan? I don't need that. But like, you know, then the pandemic happened, a lot of solo drug use and a lot of overdose. And, you know, fentanyl has been a problem for decades. And I think it just started affecting people on a closer level, and it started getting closer and closer to them. So now it's normalized, and I feel like it's normalized now, and I would like to normalize testing. But it's still such a funky thing because you have the test strip, but you need to be able to put the exact right amount of drug with the exact amount of water. And if you mess it up, it'll give you a false positive. And it's just not foolproof yet. I've had some ideas. I've pitched it to our government and to see if we could get funding for it. I'm still waiting on it. It's such a long process. But I do think at the very least what I would like to start doing, which I can share publicly because maybe somebody else can help put this into motion, is to-go bags at clubs. Like I reached out to clubs to see how comfortable you are. Nowadays hands out fentanyl test strips, but I think it's important for people to not test your drugs at the club. That doesn't mean go in the bathroom and test your drugs. I think this is something you should be doing before you even get to the club. So to me, it's like we should have to-go bags. Like when people are leaving the club, like here's your little fun kit, like go on about your way and just make it a little easier for everybody to just like start figuring it out.
Yeah, because it definitely should be a moment of like reckoning before you do this. We don't know what's in it. Like take the moment, take the 5 minutes or whatever it is, test your drugs, and then go have about your night. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think it's, and when we started it, initially, and I think I actually had COVID when I had this first meeting in 2020 with Nightlife Mayor, and I'm forgetting her name right now. But so it was like March 10th or something, and I know I caught it on the 8th. Anyway, we had a meeting with them, and that meeting kind of sparked an idea with them. And from that meeting, they put into motion that all these bars and clubs legally now have to carry Narcan in their venues. So it's like something like a small idea can have big effects on the community. So like, how can we do that with things like what you went through?
I mean, I've had some ideas, but they're all kind of like on my own accord. The first is like, I just went and looked online the second I could look at screens. There's the stroke stutter, as my kids call it. They're like, Shira's stroke stuttering right now. What was I saying? There's test strips for that you can drop your drink like a little or dip your drink in it. Like a COVID test, and it tests for ketamine and GHB. Now, that's not everything a person can be spiked with, but like
that's
it's
huge.
2 of the main ones.
That's huge. That needs to be at clubs and bars.
Right.
Also readily available.
Right. I've asked some people, and people have said like, oh, well, we don't want to have those out because it will just like send the signal that people are getting drugged here. But like, I don't know when like we like the culture of what we're going to be ready to be like, yeah, people are getting drugged at clubs, and we need to do something about it. Bossa, and also shout out to Mansions. I'm going to DJ there for the first time, post this right now in a few weeks, and they're having those behind the bar, which is great. Like, and all you have to do is ask. Now, like, I want it to be more public, I think, in my vision, so that people don't have to know to ask to get that. But I think that's a start, and that's a big one I'm working on. At least everywhere I play in the future, I'm asking that just because of my experience, and it's like what I can do for a party that I'm playing at. But I would love it to be like just there.
Yeah, I think it's a huge cop-out for someone to say, we don't want people to think they get drugged here. Like, that happens. It happens everywhere. Like, it's not you, okay? Like, it's them. And, like, what that says when I see that, when I hear about that, if you're having these test strips, it means you care about the community and your patrons, and you want everybody to be safe. So if I hear somebody say that, I just think it's a cop-out. And then you have people like Mansions and nowadays Bossa that are walking that fine line of, like, test strips and things, because you can't promote these illegal substances in the club, but you do want people to be safe.
Yeah, totally. And I think like the first thing is like being transparent about like the risks we take walking the street, the risks we take doing anything that we love. Like, I love to go on a walk. I also have to look both ways before I cross. I love to go out dancing when I can really dance again and like go crazy. I want to be safe. Yeah.
In a perfect world, drugs would be legal and they would be regulated, and there wouldn't be a fentanyl problem. And everything would be okay, like we would. But that's not the world we live in, where weed isn't even federally legalized yet, which is insane. And I also want to add that fentanyl can be found in ketamine and cocaine, despite what you Some people might say no, but you need to test your ketamine just as much as your cocaine and your Molly. Just test it, because there's cross contamination. If you have somebody with a ton of fentanyl stored in the same place as cocaine and Molly and all the things, there can be easily cross contamination there, and it only takes 3 salt grain sizes to kill you of fentanyl. So just test your freaking drugs,
Yeah.
At least have Narcan as well.
I totally forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, 3 salt grain to kill you is just like, it's just so tragic, and it's like so unfair and so insane. Yeah. Anything else? I don't know. What else are we talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I hope people are enjoying this beautiful day in Brooklyn, because it is absolutely, it's so good. We've been waiting for this. I feel like we've been punished for so long. So yeah, I don't know. I just appreciate the opportunity to do this. And again, the bravery to come forward about your experience is really, really important. And if this happens to you at the club, please try to find the strength to go to the venue, speak to the owner, speak to the manager, try to get video of what happened to you. Don't be embarrassed. It is not your fault, even if you got drunk. It is not your fault if you got drugged. Okay, so just try to find your community and come forward and be brave, and reach out to us if you need to. Reach out to us on Instagram.
Yeah, please. And the other thing I want to say is that everyone who I have reached out to, has been extremely helpful, and trying to make it work, and trying to right the wrong that's not my fault, not necessarily directly their fault, and just trying to do what they can to make it better. And so I think it's we've been told so much that you must have gotten really drunk, or you must have been really messed up, and therefore it's your fault. It's not. I didn't doubt it for a second, because I hadn't done anything that night, but in my past I totally had doubted myself, and I think after going through what I've gone through, if I was doubting myself, that would have been the cherry on top to just make such a miserable experience so much worse. Mm-hmm. So please reach out, and if you have any ideas, this is the first public conversation, but if you have any ideas about harm reduction, whether it be from a lens of overdose, or roofing, or sexual assault, or whatever it may be, please talk to me, us. I am going to keep this conversation in my mouth for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, do we also need to reach out to assembly members and government officials and elected officials to see if something more can be done?
Yeah. I wanted to ask, how did you get connected with mayors and elected officials?
Well, it was the nightlife, mayor of nightlife had just come into play, I feel before the pandemic. And I'm trying to remember. Honestly, I don't remember who set that appointment up, whether it was us or them. We must have reached out to them, but honestly, March 2020 is
But all it took was a reach out. Somebody just reached out. You know what I mean? You don't have to be, I don't know. You don't have to be anyone big deal.
No, you can reach out to your assembly people about anything. Yeah. They have offices in your district. Go to their office, speak to somebody in person, and don't be shy about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Where are you guys doing any events soon, or where can people find out more?
You can, we have a website, but I haven't updated it in a very long time. But if you need Narcan, you can reach out to me at Lauren Flax on Instagram. And if you do so soon, you can come get some Narcan from me, some naloxone. Tomorrow, I have my LotRadio show called Damn It Janet from 5 to 6 p.m. So hit me up.
Yeah. You know how much I love Janet Jackson.
Yeah, me too. Oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Shashi.
Light in the light.
Since everything as far as I see is part of you and that's all. Since I'm turns out to be just another
それはどこへもしか小さい嘘の波さえこれからこの気持ちいつか収まるのかしら終わるのかしら夜中のライトが日本へ何もかもが出来上がっているほら楽しむ時期はついたわよ目を覚めてセンセーションを忘れた寂しいはずよ
shout out to Captain Gary. Who are you? But yes, Holly Madrid, my best friend forever, is in the booth.
Go ahead.
All right, so our next guest is Outsmart, NYC. I don't think I've told them this, but they've been some of my angels in this time. I feel like I owe you guys a thank you note. I was like, when I could finally walk again, I was like walking around to all the places that I would go, like shout out the Rep Cafe, and give them thank you notes for just like, I don't know, saving me in this time. So, yeah, I definitely owe you guys a thank you note, but they've been super helpful and just, I think like saw the GoFundMe when it came out and have just been like supporting me and working with Bossa and just really, really great people. So I'm excited to give them the next half an hour or so to talk about what they do. Keep tuning in, learn something, grow a little. So yeah, thank you, Outsmart. This is them.
Yay. Thank you. Can I use this mic? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's so weird. I'm like looking into my audience. I'll probably talk for a while and then do interview style. Thank you for that introduction. We are Outsmart NYC. I'm just going to talk for a second about what Outsmart is, what we do, and talk directly to the camera. And then I'm going to do a little interview style with my coworkers back here. But I'm Scarlett. I use she, her pronouns, and I work at the New York City Alliance Against Sexual Assault. So we are a nonprofit that does sexual violence prevention, but we also do research and advocacy, mainly political advocacy in Albany, stuff like that. And one of our prevention programs is Outsmart NYC. And we partner with the Crime Victims Treatment Center to do Outsmart. We are a team that's very small, but we're mighty. We're made up of just me and Eric, and then we have 3 nightlife folks on our team. We have 2 of them here today who you'll get to hear from. But basically what we do is our mission is to prevent and end sexual violence in New York City nightlife and New York City party spaces. So we have a bunch of different programs. The number one, our main thing is training. So we work with nightlife spaces to train their staff, train management, train security. I actually, when I got here, was just coming from a security training today, and that's where Eric is still. But our approach is, I'll talk a little bit about our history. So Outsmart was started about 10 to 15 years ago because nightclub and bar owner noticed an uptick in sexual violence in party spaces. And so he reached out to preventionists, other people who work more in me and Eric's field, and they created Outsmart. So at its core, it's really a collaboration between nightlife people and preventionists, which helps us create trainings that are more specific to the nightlife industry, because what we see, and I'm sure, you know, anybody who works in nightlife or goes out or is even like in this, a tangent of this industry, is nightlife workers especially really don't have access to the same trainings and support resources that you do in a traditional 9-to-5 job. And a lot of people have to do the like online state mandated sexual harassment training, which is like, Bob is by the water cooler and he says something to Susan, and like it's not at all relevant. Yeah, it's not real. It doesn't make sense for any nightlife people. So that's where Outsmart kind of came in, and we do trainings for nightlife staff. And we also like to emphasize that we're not just focusing on patron safety, but we're also really looking at staff safety, because we know that nightlife staff experience really, should I talk into it a little more? We know that nightlife staff experience really high rates of violence as well. Like, it's kind of just a given that on any night when you're working, you will be harassed or you will have to tolerate a behavior because, you know, your income is based on whether or not the customers like you and then tip you well. So we recognize all these power dynamics within the nightlife industry, and our trainings really focus on both, you know, how can we make patrons safer, but also how can we make working conditions better for people who are on their feet for 8 hours and experiencing like overwhelming amounts of harassment. And we know a lot of nightlife staff are made up of queer people, people of color, immigrants, folks who already have barriers to accessing support. So that's kind of what Outsmart does. We also have a lot of random things that we do. We've started doing safety advocacy. So if you have an event or anybody that is like going to be massive, we will bring in a team of volunteers, and they're kind of a resource in addition to security, because we know a lot of people don't always necessarily want to call on security if harm happens in the space. So our whole job is literally just to be bystanders, but also to be a presence so that people feel like there's somebody watching out for them. So that's our safety advocacy program. And then we also just we train anyone, anywhere who wants it. All of our trainings are free. And the process kind of looks like we'll meet with an owner or manager, whoever's bringing us in, and we'll do a walkthrough of the space first, because we want to know the spaces that we're going into. And that needs assessment is the most important part, because it helps us tailor the training to the space that we're going into. So we'll walk through the space. We'll ask, like, where are the spots where the bartenders can't see, where maybe some shit is going down sometimes that people just like don't have access to, and we'll kind of map those hot spots. But then we'll also ask them about the culture and the patrons who come there, and what would you like this training to cover? And then we'll do a survey of the staff to get the same information from them. And then we come in and we do usually like a 2-hour training for staff. And I love Outsmart so much. It's my favorite part of my job. I think it's so important. I mean, I was listening to a little bit of your conversation earlier about like harm reduction in nightlife spaces, and I think it's just like we know that nightlife is where culture and community are built, and nightlife is where we are creating cultural norms. And it's honestly absurd to me that we don't have massive like violence prevention and consent forward programs like everywhere in every club in the world. But Outsmart is really about offering an alternative to rape culture and sexual violence culture that is just a consent culture. And that looks like a lot of different things. And I'm going to talk to KK and Deejay KK47 and Nina Vicious. I'm going to use their DJ names today to rep their DJ brands. But we're going to, representation right here. I'm going to talk to them a little bit about like nightlife culture in general and like what DJs can do. But I do just want to flag first, like for anybody who's just a patron or someone who goes out in nightlife or someone who works in nightlife establishments, we see the ways that the smaller moments really make a difference when it comes to preventing violence. So when a venue has a code of conduct up that's like super comprehensive, that mentions the things that we want people to do and not just what they shouldn't do, like be consent forward, be welcoming, be inclusive, all of those things affirm that like this is a space where we care about this, where we care about limiting harm and stopping people from coming in who are coming in to cause harm. Those codes of conduct are super, super important. And then also making sure your staff is trained on like how to respond if someone violates that code of conduct. But then as patrons, if you walk into a space that has one, that should hopefully be enough to empower us. Like if you hear somebody making a joke that's kind of disgusting, to say like, hey, there's a sign here that says that you can't do that. And that's how we see culture change start to happen, is when people don't tolerate those behaviors we've been taught to think of as smaller, that actually create a culture where harm is okay and it's okay to dehumanize people. All right, I'm saying a lot of stuff that's kind of just thank you, just kind of following where my brain takes me right now. So I'm gonna ground us and ask these two some questions, and then we'll just have a little conversation. Do you guys want to like maybe you can each take a mic? You each take one, and then I'm gonna take one from you to ask questions.
Okay,
you take
cool.
that. You take that.
All right. Sounds good. What's good, everybody?
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, go ahead, KK.
Hi, everybody. My name is DJ KK47. I am the people's DJ from the Bronx. Uptown is in the building.
Boogie down.
Yes, and I am so grateful to be working with Outsmart NYC as a Health Equity Night Life liaison, as well as being a DJ myself, and also just
And working with me.
Yes, my favorite coworker. who I've met even before working.
We've
at
known each
Outsmart.
other a very long time, and it's a pleasure to be working with you. I'm Nina Vicious. I've been a DJ for many moons. I'm not going to tell y'all how long because I will age myself. But I'm from BK all day. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. And I absolutely have to shout out Dash from Friends and Lovers for hooking me up with Outsmart. Working with them has been an amazing experience. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's so relevant to the work that I do. And I will say that when I got into DJing, I was just as clueless as a lot of the people who are probably listening as to how to engage in bystander intervention and how to intervene when you see something happening on the dance floor that you don't know how to proceed. And working with them has helped to give me a little bit of a playbook on how I can help to make dance floors safer. So I want to thank Scarlett for being a part of that, a huge part of that. Yes. And so, yeah.
Can I take for a second? Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
On that note, so I want to hear from both of you about, like, what do you see from the DJ booth that other people might not be seeing? And also, like, what is the culture around, because I'm not a DJ, I'm not in this world. What is the culture in, like, the DJ world around, like, talking about these topics and talking about talking about consent, talking about, like, if you all my DJs like, if you see shit on the dance floor, like, why is it so that DJs are not, like, you know, of the mindset of, like, this is my responsibility or my job? That was like 4 questions, but I'll let you both.
Yeah, I was like, we'll start with you because
And I'll pass it off to KK. So from the DJ booth, it really depends on where you are. So for example, if you're in a big festival space, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to notice what's going on in a huge crowd. And that's why it's great in a festival space, like when we were at Red Bull Culture Clash last summer, where they hired us as safety advocates. And so in a big space like that, it's really helpful to have safety advocates on the dance floor because there's a lot that the DJ really can't see or be focused on in that space. When you're in a smaller venue where I'm usually DJing at on the weekends, I DJ in pubs, bars, lounges, things like that. You can see a little bit more, and sometimes you'll be more floor level with the crowd, so you can engage a little bit more with them. So it depends on the space. As far as people's attitudes about talking about it, we don't have the time on this show to talk about how taboo it is. I'm just going to be honest, you know, if I may, in the DJ community and the nightlife community overall, just to tell somebody that you feel you've been harmed by somebody who they may either be friends with or be invested in their career trajectory, or, you know, there's a lot of politics that play into it. And I know that there are a lot of people who pay their rent off of that sort of thing, but this is an important conversation. I'm glad you asked that question because we do need to talk about it. So I'll let you go. You have your mic.
Thank you. And thank you for mentioning all of those things because I definitely, we could go on with a list. One thing I was thinking a lot about was the safety of, like, us as the DJs, right? And I hope this is not shifting from your question, but I'm thinking a lot about how I've been in spaces where, like, I would be going through something, right? Like, folks see me and they're like, oh, okay, this is a woman DJ, this is a black woman DJ, and it's not your typical cis man who is, like, in front of the decks. And so all of these different questions before I even start to play in the first place is already, to me, a form of harassment because I'm like, why are you coming over here to mess up the energy that I'm trying to create in this space by coming in with assumptions of, oh, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. But I've also been in spaces where, because I'm really thinking about safety, right, where a patron might have came up to me and try to disrespect, maybe putting, like, it's typical. I've noticed some people put, like, a drink in front of the booth and I'm like, wait, you can't have any beverages in front of the booth. Or they're, like, consistently trying to ask you to play a song, like requesting a song, and they're like, I've had one experience, funny enough, where somebody actually, because I was on a stage at a big venue in Asbury Park, not gonna mention any names, and this one particular patron I'm laughing because I kind of thought it was funny, but at the same time, I'm like, this is a lot because for all this, I could have just taken your phone at this point. Yeah. But they literally slid the phone, like, because I was on a stage, right? So they slid their phone and they literally, like, pushed it all the way to where my table was at. And I'm just like, okay. And then I'm like, well, I only have 5 minutes for my set to be finished. So even if you were to slide me this phone, regardless, I wasn't going to play your song anyway, because I just felt like that was very disrespectful. I just can't see myself doing that to somebody.
Everything
honestly.
I'm hearing is disrespecting the DJ's boundaries.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so you're not straying from the conversation, because what we're talking about is a part of a larger culture. When we talk about rape culture, when we talk about consent culture, consent encompasses a lot of things. Right. And just respecting somebody's personal space, respecting the DJ's personal space, not feeling like you could be all up in my face and ask me a million questions while I'm trying to set up my equipment. Right. This all plays into it. Just having enough self-awareness to know when you're really infringing upon somebody's comfort and personal space. Right. That all plays into this. So how people are interacting with the DJs is a part of this conversation as well.
Got you.
Yeah, wait. Yes. I love I could listen to you two talk all day. I love that you're both saying this too, because like, you know, you were like, this might be straying from the conversation, but it's not, because it's literally like when we talk to nightlife spaces, we don't just ask them about like one specific form of harm that people have identified is sexual violence. Like we talk about the culture overall, and like not from the jump, like when someone when you as a DJ walk into a space and you're being disrespected, or they're making assumptions about you, or people aren't asking you what your boundaries are and then respecting them, like that's just one tiny aspect of like how it's probably then going into the rest of the venue and showing up in other spaces. Like their security probably hasn't been trained to like be trauma informed, or like, you know, ask people their pronouns and like not be transphobic. Like it is all interconnected in so many different ways. Yeah.
And I wasn't DJing the night when all of this happened to me, but I just keep thinking, listening to you, how are you supposed to be empowered to be more than a bystander as a DJ if you're being disrespected from the jump, people making assumptions about you before you even start playing or before you're even done with the set? How are you supposed to feel empowered in that place if you do happen to see something, to say something? How are you supposed to feel like more than a pawn in this game if like the patrons or the staff in these places are not like trained to like uphold what you're doing as professional and important? How are you supposed to take a stand from there?
Yeah.
I know that question was somewhat rhetorical, but also there are some answers to that question, and I think that it was only when I started working with Outsmart that I realized, you know, something, either I'm going to be self-conscious about how people perceive me when I stand up against this, or I'm literally going to be the reason why somebody maybe goes home safely tonight. And so for me, it's really boiled down to, and when I say take a stand, I want to make it clear, I'm not always talking about calling people out and wagging my finger at people and saying, no, your behavior is bad. In a club space, we all know that the behaviors are going to be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are having a grand old time. They're engaging in all sorts of delicious and yummy and fun substances, which there's nothing wrong with that, you know, and the music's on point and everybody came in their cute outfit and people want to be rowdy. So there's nothing wrong with that culture, right? But at the same time, it's like there are boundaries within that. And being able to spot when something's a little off can be difficult, and there's a lot of nuances to it, and you're not always going to get it right. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But there's nothing wrong when you see something that looks a little sketchy without, you know, wagging your finger or calling it out, maybe intervening in a really, in a less obvious way. Right? Like, for example, I can give a personal example. There was a time where I was DJing at a venue in the Lower East Side, which I won't name. And there was a couple that they were both clearly intoxicated, and they were having fun, but I could tell that the guy was getting a little bit aggressive, and it seemed like the woman was trying to placate him. like trying to calm him down a little bit and trying to giggle and play off his aggressive behavior. And I noticed that she was the only person in the bar that was wearing an entire outfit of winter white. Everybody else was dressed in black and dark colors. So I was like, oh, you know what I think I'll do? I'll compliment her outfit. I'll just like interject in their conversation. The guy could tell me I'm rude. I don't care. I don't care if he doesn't like my behavior. I don't care if he thinks I'm rude. I don't care if he confronts me. I'm not telling him you're doing something wrong. I'm not making any accusation at all. I'm literally just complimenting this person's outfit. But what it does is that it kind of disrupts the flow of their conversation and added a positive tone to the vibe of what was going on. And it kind of diffused the situation a little bit. And then if I felt like the behaviors didn't stop, I could easily just go to security and say, listen, there's something going on that it's not within my realm of capability to handle. Can you please keep an eye on this? It's that well, it's not that simple, but that's one thing that I would do. That's one example of something I would do without worrying about how I'm being perceived, without worrying about how people are receiving me.
Right. Oh.
So.
And also, I'm just using
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This mic is, it looks cool to hold.
Go ahead.
But in addition to what Nina was saying, something I was thinking a lot about related to, I guess, your rhetorical question is how to basically do your job for yourself, right? So doing your job on me, right? And funny enough, in Lower East Side recently, not gonna mention the name either, but recently, right? And mind you, I wasn't even a DJ. I was just a patron. I'm going out, so I have a lot of experiences of having to do my own job of myself, especially thanks to Outsmart, like working with Outsmart and getting the proper tools, right? Because we're being trained to teach other folks on how to, not be a bystander and all of these different things. And when I'm like not working on the job, I'm just going out, nightlife, and unfortunately things happen and I'm like, wow, now I have to actually use the proper tools that we're teaching everybody else on me, right? And so if anybody has ever had that question of, oh, has that ever happened to us before where we had to do that? The answer, I'm pretty sure, is yes. Right? Because the whole point of the collective to me is like the fact that all of us have these experiences in which we're also providing tools for. And I think about this particular place where I had to tell this gentleman who, I guess he was trying to talk to me or whatever, and I wasn't interested. And I was kindly trying to let him know that. And I was already dealing with somebody who actually knew, who didn't see me in a long time. And something that has been coming up for me a lot is how folks feel very entitled of your time and of your space and energy just because they might have known you for some time. It's like, just because you know me for some time, that doesn't mean you can overstep some boundaries. If I say, hey, I don't want to be touched a certain way, you have to respect that. And unfortunately, I had to, take on some protocols and actually, talk to these people. And that person was getting a hint and eventually left. But it's just, trust me, it does bother me a lot. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of that, like, anxiousness. My palms are sweaty right now as we talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it happens. And one of the many things that I try my best to do is ground myself before I'm about to start a gig, depending on how much time I have in between time to even do that before somebody comes up. And also expecting, unfortunately, people to have certain things to say or try to do. It's kind of how my brain is. I'm like, okay, let me like prepare my brain to like go through the mental.
Mentally prepare. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you both. I love that, like, we barely even asked one question and we could just keep going for like 40 more minutes, but we won't. We will be respectful of the time. Right. But I really appreciate what you both are saying too, because I think so much of this is about how in our trainings we talk about how we're not asking staff or patrons or anybody to like put on their cape and like be a hero and like be like, stop touching that person. Like, we know that that's not realistic, and we know it's not safe for a lot of people to like intervene directly, which is why we teach so many different types of interventions. Like exactly what you were saying about distracting somebody or like going in and even just, we'll tell bartenders like, take a bus tub and walk between two people who like, if you don't know what the vibe is, you can intervene without making an accusation and without escalating by literally just separating people and then keeping an eye on them. And it's so simple. And it's like nightlife people already do this too. That's what we also have been like so on about is that we know that nightlife people have the tools and they care and they're already doing this. It's just about like affirming that is bystander intervention. Like that is a way of de-escalating. And then also, of course, instilling some more of those like consent forward codes of conduct and training staff in like how to notice when somebody maybe looks uncomfortable, and also training them in like not to just clock like cis white girls who look like me as potential victims, but also like
I'm about to snatch your mic.
but also recognizing that like anybody can be a survivor and anybody can be harmed and anybody can cause harm. So like we shouldn't just be looking out for the people who we've been taught by like society and media are survivors. We should be looking out for every single person who walks into the venue who, because anybody can be harmed and anybody can cause harm. I did want to close. I'm going to ask each of you a final question, and then I'll share some resources, and then we'll be done. Final question, I guess, is if there's one thing that you feel like DJs or just patrons can do to like do their little part to make spaces safer, what would it be?
I think that one thing that they could do would be basically what KK and I had to do when we started working at Outsmart, which is to educate ourselves on the cultures that contribute to harm in these spaces and to, by example, show what it's like to not participate in that culture, not push that culture forward, and to maybe not call it out in a negative way when you see it, but, you know, acknowledge when you're seeing it, believe people when they tell you they're experiencing it. Right. Even if they are not cishet little, tiny little white girls of a particular age, believe people when they tell you. And these are things that you can do that will help you to even be able to drum up the empathy to intervene, which is what it boils down to, empathy. When you see somebody hurt, and you see somebody in trouble, as people, as a community, as a nightlife community, it's our duty to look after one another. And so that's my little piece.
Right.
I'll take it.
I was gonna say,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Look,
you go,
it's a cute mic. I'm like,
Oh,
ooh.
that's right. That's right.
No, it's all good.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine. The one thing that popped up in my head was thinking about like, because usually for us DJs, we have like a bit of an hour, some time to get to the venue so we could set up and stuff. I think it's always great if you're not having a residency, because if you have a residency, then that's a little different. But always get to know the staff who are working at the space, because I feel like in between that time when you're setting up, it's always great to create some sort of like a rapport, but to also be like, hey, you know what? If you see XYZ happening, this could be like our little code, so we could like communicate with each other, especially if it's like loud music and like certain things happening. I know one of the things we do in safety advocacy is that besides wearing like the t-shirts that we'll have, we'll sometimes, like especially at night gigs, we'll have the light up glow up bracelets. Thank you. And so like the glow up bracelets are pretty good, because the people who are wearing them, you know, say if something is happening, we could just raise our hands, and then somebody could see that glow up bracelet, and then somebody could just easily go up and be like, oh, okay, what's happening, XYZ, which has been really helpful in the past, as an example.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to share some resources if you both want to take a seat, and I'm just going to talk into this. Is that okay? Okay, final things then that I'll say just from the Outsmart side. Thank you both, my favorite DJs in the world. I now have another favorite DJ. I love this for me. If I ever throw like a massive event, booked. Like I've got back-to-back DJs. Yeah, I love. This is the reason why I love Outsmart. I love our team because, you know, having their perspectives and having the perspectives of all the nightlife people who we work with really just makes, I think, our work better because it's so specific to the nightlife industry. So on that note, if you work for a venue or if you go to a venue a lot and you have a good relationship with them, tell them about Outsmart. All of our trainings are free. They're like really a very low lift for the venue, depending on how involved they want to get. Like, But once you are trained by us, we are in a partnership. You can call us in if anything happens, and we can give you resources. I also, I don't know, I'm just going to say a website because I know this is a weird medium for sharing things, but svfree, F-R-E, NYC.org. svfreenyc.org is my website, my organization's website. We have a resource guide on there that is every single resource for survivors in New York City. So if you need therapy, legal resources, housing, anything like that, that our resource guide is on our website. It's available in English and in Spanish, svfreenyc.org. And then finally, just look for people who are doing this work in community. Like we have, if you DM us on Instagram, like we can get nightlife people connected to any space that they want to be connected to. If you are a venue owner, like we can help you find trainings for other things too. That other resource I'll say for venue owners that we recently met with Culture City, Culture with a K, who train venues, to be certified for people who have sensory needs. So like they can give you sensory kits, bags, and like certify your venue for people who maybe have autism or PTSD and are potentially at risk of like being overstimulated by lights and sound. They can train your staff in like how to handle that. Culture City. We love them. And then finally, if you reach out to us and you need like free legal therapy resources, etc., we can get you connected with those through our organizations that we work in. I think that's it. Thank you so much for having us. This was so fun.
Yeah, thank you, Shishi.
Yeah, seriously.
Thank you guys. You all three are really good at radio.
Stop it.
Yeah, I run a youth radio youth program that happens once a month through Building Beats, and I think they would all be very inspired by your like interview skills and your presence. It's like I was like, I'll be fine during this. I'm a 7th grade teacher. Nothing can stop me, but I'm nervous, and you guys really held it down. One other thing I wanted to ask you, if a venue were to reach out to Outsmart, can you just share like what that process looks like really quick? I was so astonished at how easy it was to connect you guys to Bossa and like the other venues that have reached out to me. So I just want to put it out there, how easy it really is.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, so when you reach out to us, the process is very, very simple. You'll email us. Jasmine will respond to your email. She is our admin queen, and we will schedule that walkthrough. So we'll Nina Vicious. Sorry, called her by her real name, not her DJ name. DJ Nina Vicious will respond to your email. And follow her on Instagram, follow DJ KK47. And we will come to your venue. We'll do a walkthrough. So we'll meet with management, ask those questions, needs assessment. And then from there, we'll send out an anonymous staff survey. So you'll have your staff fill it out. And then we'll schedule the training. It can happen 2 weeks from when you reach out. It can happen a month. I know wrangling everyone together to get a training scheduled is difficult. We'll come in, we'll do the training, we'll do an evaluation afterwards, and then we'll follow up after the training to see how things are going, see how things are working in the venue. We can address whatever you want us to address. So, you know, when I met with Bossa, we talked a lot about just like safety in the space. We talked specifically about like roofing and like how to potentially prevent it and what to do if somebody is. And that's something that we will then include in our training. So really it's just about like, what are the things that you're seeing in your venue that we can support you in preventing and responding to. So yeah, that's the process. You talk to us, needs assessment, walk through training itself, and then follow up. And then we're partners forever. And we can always do training a year later or come back and do specific trainings to working with specific populations or responding to trauma disclosures, like that kind of stuff. We're happy to do. So that's our process. All good.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love Outsmart. I am a big Outsmart fan. So yeah, thank you for helping me in the past 4 months or so and being here today. And shout out to Lauren Flax and last night a DJ saved my life, and just everyone who's like showed care and intention and like a desire to like grow out of this whole experience. It was kind of my nightmare of it being so public, but I'm actually glad. So thank you. I'm going to play a little bit more music. This is the first time I've DJ'd back since I was hurt. So it's really exciting, and this is just a really big day. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is Prince. Yesterday was the anniversary of his death, and him and Janet are my all-time favorites. So thank you, Prince. Thank you, Janet Jackson. This is Temple House, the dub version, and I love it. So thanks for listening and being with us today.